Moin moin and hello ladies and gentlemen, Donspektor here, finally back from vacation. Actually I managed to be in Can Jam. And yeah, today I will give you a quick summary of what I have experienced in Can Jam, which unfortunately is not everything that there was, because yeah, it was a good selection of things that you could try out, you could listen to, quite a few people to talk to, and yeah, even a few presentations. And yeah, I will be just giving you just a rough overview of what I have been doing and Can Jam. And I think I just do it almost exactly how I went through the exhibition. And yeah, it actually started somewhere in the morning, or like not early noon on Saturday. First I visited a presentation about MEMS, as kind of type of speaker. And yeah, long story short, is basically a piezo element that is like kind of piezo sandwich, where it has like a silicon layer between. I don't know why it has a silicon layer. I tried to ask this question, but I didn't really get a straight response for it. So I can't tell you why the piezo element still is a silicon layer sandwich between that, because it would totally work without it. Yeah, a quick insertion here for all to know what a piezo element is. It's basically two different metals that are kind of like glued together. And AFA, if you move the element itself, it will generate a current that you can use to measure things. Or if you do the opposite and you put in current through it, it can work as a kind of fan or as a speaker. And here in this case, it's kind of a very tiny speaker. But yeah, or can also use it as a microphone, because yeah, you can just reverse the functionality and it will just work just fine, like in most cases if it's rightly built. So yeah, it's nothing like really revolutionary. I don't understand why it was like hyped up by this company so much. Like it's just a piezo, like there's nothing special about it. And yeah, directly from there, because it's on the same floor, I went to a booth next to it where I had DCS, and I didn't really care about what amplifiers and what digital analog converters and network players they had. I just tried a few headphones there, and I just came very quickly to stop by and tried the Meze Empyrion, which absolutely didn't wow me. Like really, I don't know why people like the Empyrion. Like it was like meh. Like, nothing of this was great. Like the hair was not the best. Like comfort was good, I have to give him that. But other than that, it didn't wow me at all. Like not on a technical standpoint, not on a tuning standpoint. It was just kind of nah. Then I tried on Susvara, and yeah, it's kind of Hifiman sound at its peak. Like what else can I say? Like I would have liked it, just not as much as I thought I would when I saw the measurements and I saw how much people praise it. It didn't wow me that much, but was certainly very much worth it. And then I tried an LCD 5, which actually was decent, but again, for the price, I think it's overpriced. Like I think it's not worth it. And when I read some people saying, Joshua, when he said best drum reproduction, no, like not quite. Just can't agree with that. Like it was good, but certainly not worth the price tag. Oh, yeah, quick cut here. I actually forgot. I also wanted to try I think it's Diana Phi, not sure what it's called. I had an amplifier there, and I couldn't get it on my head. It fits horribly. Like even in the smallest setting, it just kind of flops on my head, and it's similar to Sennheiser. There's a huge gap at the bottom, so you basically lose all of the bass and sub bass it has. It kind of makes it useless. So I didn't really bother listening to it. It just didn't work. Like it's heavy, it's made out of steel, it feels kind of well made, yeah, but it's too heavy and it doesn't fit at all. Like this is not made for human heads. Like really, oof. Okay, let's continue. Then I went over from there to the booth from ZMF, and I come back to ZMF a bit later on because I do it in a chronological order from what I experienced. And yeah, I asked them what they would recommend, and then they asked me what I like, and I was like, hey, something more like natural. I really like the Sandara, and then I got recommended the Arteum Open, and oh my god, I love the Arteum Open. Like I like literally, like I was sitting there and I listened to Crawling from the Reanimation album from Linkin Park, and literally brought me to tears. It's so good. Like wow, like this is like, I have to say, it's the thing that I like most of the entire Can Jam. Like I know it's not new and people have experienced it, and some of them don't like it, but really like the Arteum Open just completely like mwah, like chef's kiss for me. Like absolutely worked perfectly. Caldera pads on it, also nice, but I prefer the original pads on that. Yeah. And then I also tried the Arteum Closed because, yeah, in my current accommodation, it's a bit difficult with open back headphones. And also like the Arteum Closed, but funny enough, not as much as I thought by just looking at the graph originally. Like the Arteum Open definitely hits more home for me. And yeah, only unfortunate thing is again the price here, which in Germany is like $2,800. I'm thinking that's a bit too much. Maybe I keep an eye on the used market because really like it really best thing that I heard on Can Jam, and I absolutely liked what I heard there. Yeah, and then I went downstairs because this was at -1 and then -3, the main hall basically, with most of the gear, like most of the amplifiers, most of the exhibitioners, most of the IEMs, headphones not so many, but still a few. Unfortunately I missed a few as well, but yeah, that was the main event. First I walked around, got in like a rough gist of it, and yeah, it was actually relatively big. I don't know how many people were on exhibition, or how many companies were on exhibition, but I assume maybe like 15 or so, 20 maybe. So it's not like huge if you had ever been at a games convention or something like that. It's not that big, but for audio it's still fairly like bigger than I expected. And yeah, just walked around and got a gist of it first. And I'll also show you a few pictures, I think, so you can see how it is looking. And immediately went to LetShuoer because I was like, okay, I have 2 of LetShuoer's IEMs. I like them very much. Let's see what else they had. I had the standard selection, like starting from the planar and the pro version, and then the Cadenza, like not to confuse with the cheap Cadenza. This is the expensive Cadenza with 12 drivers. And also the DZ4 and the AJ07, AJ07M, AJ09. And I have to say I was not that interested in most of their stuff, so I just tried the Cadenza 12 and the DZ4. Chronological, the Cadenza 12 was really well balanced and in good detail. Maybe a tiny bit too much in the treble, but it could also just be because I had to up the volume because it was relatively loud there. Fit was not the best, but still fairly decent, and unfortunately a bit heavier side though because it's titanium shell. Separation was good, bass was good. Price, I think, a bit high for what it gets, and I couldn't really insert it as deep. Yeah. So I liked it, but it wasn't the greatest in the show for me at least. Then I tried the DZ4, it's a very thick nozzle, like didn't fit me that well. And I could have bought it there for apparently $85. I think that's below the normal selling point. He offered it. I was like, it was decent, I have to say, and I would have maybe considered buying it later, but it was just decent. The only thing I have discussed also with a few other reviewers, like the passive radiator, and where from a build standpoint, it probably is not doing anything. It's just not put in this case correctly, so it can't really build up enough passive pressure to actually move the radiator. So it's most likely just a marketing gimmick, but not really doing anything. Yeah. And from there, I went to the Linsoul Booth because I'm very familiar with Linsoul, and I tried quite a few of their things already, and I'm a regular customer, and actually most of their service experience was also very positive. So I went there and immediately went for the newest thing in their arsenal, the Hype 2. And what should I say? Like, seriously, people, the Hype 2 is like, actually, it should be hyped. Like, it is by far the best price performance thing that I've listened on that day. And actually, if you don't want to buy something expensive, I think this actually gets fairly close to Oracle. And then I also tried the Big Brother, the Monarch MK3, and also there I would say like it's still fairly close. Again, diminishing returns hit really hard here, and to my ear at least, I would say the bass of the Hype 2 is definitely better than of the Oracle. I think it just has better texture and better punch, and I'm not sure if I would say it's even better than the Monarch MK3. Sorry, not the MK3 I tried. But it's really good for this price, and I would absolutely recommend it, and I will definitely see when it's on sale, buy it. It's really good. Not good on the same booth. Oh guys, Blessing 3. Oof. Like the graph looks good, like somewhat goodish, but really it's too straightforward for me. Like I usually don't mind bright IEMs, but this somehow didn't work for me at all. It's shouty, it's unpleasant. The only thing that I liked about it is bass quality. Everything else, like Blessing 2, was like besides improvement in comfort that I have seen, that people say nozzle of the Blessing 2 very thick, Blessing 3 much better there, like fit me well, but just sound absolutely not. Like, I'm so glad I didn't buy it when it was new. Like, I would have really hated to waste the money on it. And then I asked the Sound Jedi in Discord from Linsoul about what he would recommend, because he was kind of like supervising the stall. And he passed me the Hiby Zeta, or Zeta, not sure how to pronounce it properly. I actually liked it. Like, it was a bit maybe too V-shaped, or a bit too treble forward in the lower treble regions for me, but actually was still fairly nicely balanced. That very good extension in both ends to me. Electrostatic timbre was noticeable to me, but again, I had to up volume a bit, and maybe just went a bit more pronounced. But I liked it overall. I think it's a good technical performer, and I forgot what it cost, but I would say like in the same realm as like Monarch MK3 should be fine. Like, I did like it, and maybe I would consider it at some point. And then I tried the Aful Performer8, and boy, I hated it. Like, it was honky as hell. I don't know, it did have any upper mids. Treble extension was not the greatest. I didn't like it. Like, from the graph and what people say, how positive it's rated, I would have expected much more, but really, Aful 8, like, no, like, just didn't work for me at all. I'm gonna try the Quintet, and I can't say anything negative about it. Like, it didn't wow me in any way. The Hype 2 definitely wowed me more, but Quintet definitely still good. Good balance, good vocal presence. I had no complaints at this price point, and I will probably consider buying it. And then I tried the Supernova. I like Supernova. It had good detail, it had good microdynamics and good balance. It was a bit warmer, but actually it was pretty good, and I wouldn't have guessed it was BA based there. Like, really, Supernova, I liked it. It would be easier available here. I would also maybe think about getting it. Just was a nice one. And they had, but they don't sell it, Nifa Elysian Audio nor Linsoul, Penon Impact. I have to say, Penon Impact also liked. Like, it had a really bold bass to my ear, so probably very V-shaped or like very bassy. But I liked that, and details and separation, staging, also very good. And generally, yeah, I like Penon Impact. Just a bit up there, and my service experience with Penon Audio, so not sure how I would spend this much money. And then, of course, Monarch MK3. Watch this, guys. It's absolutely worth like every positive praise. Like, there's no fault in Monarch MK3 to my ear. Like, really, it comes maybe as closest to perfect tuning and best, like, very good technical capabilities from what I've heard. Like, really, it's just chef's kiss again. And then the flop of Can Jam for me, like, by a landslide a flop. Like, really, it's so bad. I was sitting there, and next to me there were two other people that were listening to something. I put Zeus Elite on. I listened to music, and I made this face. Like, I really made a face, and people were laughing around me when they saw me. And they had good fun, but I hated it. Zeus Elite is so bad. It's so catastrophically bad. 8K, oh my god. Like, really, it's the worst thing I've heard in this day by a landslide. Like, without any question. 8K is so strongly pronounced. It eats everything. It eats the upper mids. It eats the not so present upper treble. It eats bass. It eats mids. Like, 8K is just, it's killing it. And if you see some of the graphs from Bad Gaudy, for instance, yeah, like, this is not coming close. Like, to my ear, this is even worse than the measurements. And really, Zeus Elite, don't buy it. Like, this is really, if you're just remotely sensitive to 8K, it's too much. It is too much by a landslide. So yeah, Zeus Elite, really bad. Stay away from it. It's maybe the worst thing Harmonic Dyne has made to my ear. If you are, again, sensitive to 8K, if you have like light hearing loss in the upper treble region, or maybe light hearing loss around 8K, I think it would be great. Like Bayer, like if you like Bayer peak, this is absolutely for you. Like, this is Bayer peak at its peak. So yeah, Zeus Elite, really bad. Then I tried the CustomArt Fibea5. I didn't like that as well. Like, it was fit-wise was not so great, at least for a company that makes custom stuff. Like, didn't fit so good. It was a bit grainy. The timbre was off. Bass had no punch at all. Vocals were pretty damn good. So yeah, like that. Then I went to Meze, and after I tried Empyrion, I was like, meh. The other planers, Empyrion is already peak. So let's go with something else. Tried the 109, and I like the 109. Had a good timbre, had details that were somewhat alright. Dynamics were decent. It came off a bit grainy to my ear, but male vocals were good, and punch was also somewhat alright. But overall, I still like the Meze 109, and I just think it's widely overpriced. For like 500, I would see it on the market, but at like, what is it, 750 or something? It's too much. Like, it's just too much. Then I went to Audeze, and yeah, like I'm not the greatest fan of the LCD 5, but I still wanted to try the Audeze. Oops, sorry guys. Audeze XC. I also didn't like it. It's very heavy. Like if I came from the LCD 5, it's very heavy. Like it was uncomfortable even after 10 minutes of wearing it, I have to admit. It's definitively honky. It has pretty good detail though. Punch is kind of meh. Vocals are okay, separation okay, isolation also not the greatest, but okay. So didn't wow me, and then I went on to Focal Booth. And unfortunately, Focal was pretty packed, like ours people. So the only thing I managed was with Bathys. And I don't know why it's praised by people so much. Like the tuning was alright, it's a bit too sharp to my ear. Pairing worked really nice. I just put my phone near, NFC pairing immediately worked, so that was great. Details for Bluetooth were alright, like right. Let's say it's good, like probably best like detailed Bluetooth headphone I've heard. Active noise cancelling were not so great. I've even heard some not so great in-ears that are on the same level here, so Focal definitely needs to improve there. And then I walked around and I saw bright orange, like really bright orange. And I did not take any pictures of the IEMs here, so sorry, I forgot. But the company's count SoundZ, like sound with Z at the end. And they're apparently from Greece, which absolutely surprised me. I didn't know Greece had any community for making audio stuff. But originally they come from like the musicians and hearing aid or hearing protection side of things. And now they're also making like more like audiophile stuff, or I want to make it. And I tried the SoundZ Flame, which is 8 balanced armatures, and the Wave with 7 balanced armatures. And I gotta give SoundZ here and big praise. Is super comfortable. Like you really see that these guys know what they're doing in terms of making custom things for musicians. Like really comfortable, and it just fit my ear like a glove. Like really, I just put on the ePro tip, put it in my ear, and it was absolutely perfect. The isolation so good, like really up to I think say 35 decibels. Absolutely, this is one of those IEMs you can wear basically everywhere. It isolates so nicely, it fits so well. Like definitely praise SoundZ for that. But other than that, I didn't like the Flame so much. It was kind of balanced enough. Bass was puffy though, vocals were decent, but not great. Bass was fast, I noted. And the switch does make it a bit warmer, but I think they should have been a bit more bold and gave the switch more bass. So there's a switch on the faceplate, which is nice because you can switch it with your finger. But yeah, like didn't wow me at all, the Flame. And also price-wise, I think it's too high. But at least they give you custom options for not too much money. So I have to say, like, it could be worth it if you're looking for a custom in-ear. This should definitely be nice. And yeah. Then the Wave, which is 7 balanced armatures. I think it should have had a bit more upper mids. And also maybe a bit more pizzazz, around like 8K or something. Like I think it was a bit light in the medium to upper treble department. It didn't have enough pizzazz for me. Yeah, the switch here, it didn't really hear anything. Like, I don't know. Generally came off as a bit like V-shaped. And bass was again a bit puffy. But yeah, overall was still alright. But not great. And price-wise, I think it's also a bit high up there. Yeah. And then I went to Final, and unfortunately my worst experience was with Final. They had a new prototype, or like it's not even a prototype, it's just a showpiece there. Looked really cool, like absolutely a really cool design, very fascinating engineering. And I'm not sure if this was the final audio engineer or somebody of the management or something. I just wanted to know how they thought about it, how they got there, like what was the design process, like what was the driver, like what material are they using for 3D printing, like who designed, like what. Like, I just wanted to know more about this fascinating piece of engineering. And whoever this dude was, he just didn't want to tell me anything. Like he wasn't rude, but he was just like short-lived, doesn't want to talk with me at all. So if he would not have been there, I would have had the same information, because he just didn't want to talk to me generally. And my English is not perfect by any stretch of the meaning, as you can hear. Or like it's not even that good. But still, like like, you need to, like, at least make some effort, dude. Like, you are representing Final. Like, this is still a renowned company. Like, talk to me, man. Explain me things. If you have a cool piece of engineering, explain me why it's cool. Really, I hated that, and was my worst experience on entire Can Jam after Elite, because Zeus Elite is horrible sounding. But yeah, like, that was really not nice, and I kind of regretted even going there and trying to talk to him for 5 minutes. I didn't get anything. Like, really, it was not nice. But when I tried their final D8000, it kind of had soundstage. It was, but also in a weird way, and vocals were pretty much gone. Harmonics were totally off. I don't know why people would buy the Final 8000. It was, after Zeus Elite, probably the worst thing that I've heard on this day. And it's also expensive, so no thank you, Final. Not recommended. And then I went to Elysian, and I tried the Annihilator, and what should I say, guys? It's what most people say. Annihilator is great. Like, there's basically no flaw that I could find here in this tuning. It has a good extension on both ends, good bass, vocals are not lost. It's just very expensive, so yeah, but I didn't have much complaints here. Maybe that it's a tiny bit soft on the lower treble, but other than that, I liked it very much. Like, it was very good. And then I went to Fiio, and I had a really great time with Fiio. Like, if my reward for worst experience has to go to Final, I think best experience would go to ZMF, closely followed by Fiio. Like, we're really accommodating, and yeah, the only thing that I tried from Fiio, because it was really interesting, was the FT5. No, not the FT3, which is the dynamic. No, this is a prototype / pre-production unit of their first planar. And it was actually the engineer who built it, or who's responsible for it there. And his English was not the best, but we still communicated, and he was really interested in getting my feedback. Like, he really wanted to hear what I didn't like, and when he didn't understand what I meant, he also asked. Like, he asked back, and when we had a nice forefront back in talking about it, and yeah, what should I say? FT5 is great. Kick drums, wow. Sorry, LCD5, if people say this has kick drums, no, sorry. Like, it might have quality, but it just lacks pizzazz in it. And the FT5, that has kick drums, people. That is nice. Like, really, this was great. And maybe the best things for that I've heard on entire Can Jam. So I really liked it. Unfortunately, though, I couldn't listen to my own library because that was not possible. They didn't manage to get internet on the laptop, and somehow their amplification didn't like my smartphone. So yeah, I listened to Rolling in the Deep from Adele, I don't know how to pronounce her name. It was very good. I liked the balance very much, and it worked just fine. My main point of critique with the FT5 though is it's sharp and grainy. I'm pretty sure there's at 8K, 7 or 9K, there's a peak somewhere that kind of ruins the otherwise nice kick drums. Like, it kind of balances a bit because it's not as bad as Zeus Elite. But still, this was a big point of critique that I named him and what I told him, and also that there was no visible L and R indicator. That was also not the greatest. Yeah, so male vocals were okay, not mega, but okay. But generally, Fiio FT5, keep an eye on that, people. If they just fix the peak in the treble, it will be really good. I can tell you. And then I went to the probably star of the show. Of course, I went to Suptonic and I listened to Storm. Like, what should I say? Bye, Storm, people. No, actually, I talked with the dude who makes it for maybe 20 minutes. Like, it was also a really great talk. I would put it on the same level as Fiio, like really ZMF, Fiio, and Suptonic, like, great dudes there, like really nice talks. And what I really enjoyed here, that he even talked about technical details. Like, he talked why he chose the components, like why he puts in high quality capacitors, where he gets his stuff from, how he balances out things, and what he really does not want to do any compromises. And that's why he went for 7-way crossover. Was really cool talk. And Storm itself, what should I say, people, it is good. Like, is it worth this much? Not sure. But it's a really good IEM, and the vocals are nicely detailed, bass has punch, treble does come off as well, without being overpowering, maybe a tiny bit too much overpowering the mids, but staging is great, imaging was great. Critique here, it's really big and heavy IEM, like wow, this is a big boy. And it also doesn't seem to have a vent, so it creates pressure in my ear that I also didn't like. And fun story, people. So when I sat there and I chatted with the dude, somebody sat next to me, which sounded like Zeos. he spoke like Zeos, he behaved like Zeos, he sat there, he put the thing in, listened to it, he was completely silent, no impression, removed it from his ear slowly, exactly like Zeos does, put it in the table and said, it's very good. And then I was like, excuse me, are you Zeos? And he said, oh, you want to shake my hands? And I'm like, yeah, cool. And I told him I don't agree with him on quite a few takes. And then I asked him if he already tried Zeus Elite, because I know how he liked the first Zeus. And he's like, oh, loves it. And then I was like, boy, this is the worst thing I've heard. I hated it. And then he was like, okay, I come back to you later after I listen to it again. He didn't, because it's Zeos. But yeah. Didn't agree with him on that as well. Yeah, so I shook hands with Zeos, and I can tell you guys, he's in real life exactly how he is on YouTube. So yeah. So after that, then I went to... one thing for Storm, it needs a high amount of current, so my up 5 couldn't handle it. I had to borrow an DAP from him that actually could play it, and with that it was definitely better. But the price is expensive, so yeah. Then I went to Hifiman, and I tried Ananda Nano and Area Organic, and I have to say they're pretty close by each other. Just on Can Jam alone, because it was loud. I'm not sure if I would be able to tell you which one is better. Like, they're a bit different, but not much. And I like both of them, but I think both are a bit too travel forward for me somehow. Like, I like bright things, but at least Ananda Nano was a bit too much for me. But yeah, extension on both ends was good, and overall balance also liked, and they were nicely detailed. Like, with the Ananda Nanos, very good for the price, I think, in terms of detail. Yeah, Area Organic, yeah, it's like similar, right, in the same ballpark. And then I went to Vision Ears, and I also have a story here. So we're talking in English, and they were just asking him what he would recommend, and what is his favorite, and yeah, what is their philosophy. And then he talked some German with his partner there. And I was like, oh, sind Sie Deutsch? Und er so, yeah. And then we talked in German for the rest, like 15 minutes or so. And I'm not sure if he's an engineer or what he's doing in the company. But he was a cool dude, and we chatted. And I'm really impressed if I tried with VE10. Very small IEM for how many drivers it fits in there. Like, really, like, very impressive engineering again. And also fit was good. Like, after the one from SoundZ, probably best fitting thing that I've had on that day. And tonality also liked. It had a really good bass punch. It was rumbly, it had weight, it had details, it was crisp still at the same time, probably reshaped then, but on the warmer side. The vocals were not so great, like a bit laid back, but still, like, I like the V10. Only when he told me the price, I was like, it's maybe a bit much, but at least because it's so small. Like, even you get this as not custom, but universal, I think it would still be fine. And then I tried the VE5, because I was like, let's go for half of it. Yeah, no, VE5 was, like, it didn't have the pizzazz I would have wanted from an IEM. Like, it was alright in anything, like, it didn't have much complaints. But again, for the price, I think it's just too expensive. And also, yeah, doesn't have a pressure hole, so again, had pressure on my ear. Then I went to Symphonium, and I tried the Crimson, and I don't know, like, it didn't work for me, Crimson, like, just didn't work for me. He said that it is for shallow insertion, and I tried deep insertion, so that is most likely the reason why it didn't work for me. But yeah, like, I don't want to criticize Crimson just because it didn't work for me at all. Man, I told him it doesn't have no soundstage. He was like, what? It has really big soundstage, and I was like, it didn't work for me. So most likely here, I didn't get it the right insertion, so it just didn't work for me because, yeah, it was inserted too deep. But I tried Helios and Helios SE, and Helios has a really bad comfort. The nozzle is so long, like, it's maybe a centimeter long. I can't get it in my ear, like, it just doesn't. Like, I tried, it just doesn't work. Helios SE, though, tuning, chef's kiss, like, really good. Okay, it's also Harman with a bit more bass, but yeah, I really liked Helios SE. Maybe with the VE10 and the Arteum Open, best things that I've heard. Helios SE was really good, and I will probably consider buying it. And then, unfortunately, it was already 1820. Yeah, I was there 20 minutes after closing, and I still chatted with the dudes, with the dude from Nightjar Acoustics, and yeah, with the from Symphonium. I'm not sure if they're friends in real life or if they just get along really nicely, but they had a really cool like mood going on, and I just chatted with them for sometimes after that. And then I still tried the Singularity, and I have read many positive things about Singularity. I cannot confirm any of those. Like, yeah, it's a dynamic driver, it has punch, but it's grainy, it doesn't sound balanced. Like, I don't know, like Singularity was maybe it's just not for me. I'm not sure what people like about it, but at least it sounded unique. From all of the things that I've heard on that day, most likely the most unique sounding thing. But yeah, it didn't work for me at all. And yeah, unfortunately that was my end of Can Jam. Like, I still then stood around 15 more minutes or so, walked around through the empty hall, saw if there's anything still open. And yeah, then I still went upstairs. And that was the end of my Can Jam. After I still went to the booth of ZMF, and I just wanted to know how much the Verite Open would be on the closed version, and if I have a reseller here. And I think I could have bought one there, but I just didn't want to risk it getting through the whole Zoll thing here if you import it via airplane to Germany. Didn't want to risk it, so I didn't buy it. But it was so good. And I realized, like, almost after we'd finished talking for like maybe 15-20 more minutes, it was Zach, like the dude who basically owns or like who built ZMF. Like, really nice dude, like really chill, very friendly, very polite, and it was a very nice chat about him. Asked him about how they tune things, and we're like, yeah, okay, like tuning closed specs is very difficult. And I was like, oh yeah, I built my own DIY. And he's like, oh, how's it going? And I'm like, yeah, you know, can confirm. And it was really cool chat. And yeah, Zach's really nice too. Like, also really nice chat there. And I felt very accommodated. Even for people that are already removing everything and setting things down, or like dismantling, but shutting things off. And I was just annoying there probably, but it still was a nice chat with Zach. And I want to thank him for being so accommodating, even for where I definitely were a bit tired, I could see it. And yeah, that was the last thing I did on Can Jam. And yeah, overall summary, I liked it. I'm not sure if I'll come back next year. I hope I will, but let's see. And if you people are in London or in the proximity, maybe think about it. If you are interested in audio, like, it's an experience to try things that you otherwise would never do, because it's goddamn expensive. Like, the list of things I tried, right? If you get the average price, it will probably be close to 1,000 or more. So yeah, it's nice to try things. But that brings me to my point of criticism. It is pretty high-end there. Like, besides QKZ, which had also their cheaper models, and LetShuoer, there was almost nothing that was in the affordable range. Like, bit of Linsoul Booth or so, but that's it. Like, everything else is 1,000 or more, or a couple hundred at least. So I would like to see in the next Can Jam, but they also get a bit more in an affordable segment. Because I think why there's also not so much stuff sold there is because it's just too expensive. Like, you can't spend multiple thousand multiple times on one occasion. Most of those dudes there didn't look like they were that rich. Like, I saw a few people buying, I think, at Hifiman or Odyssey. But other than that, like, not that many people bought stuff. And yeah, I think it's just because it's too expensive. Like, I think they should focus a tiny bit more on the lower end of things to just, yeah, get the crowd also more interested in budget audio, because the normal Cadenza is great, and I would have loved to see Kiwi ears there. Like, really, that was nice. Normal Cadenza I still absolutely like. And also the SimGod EW10, also really good IEM for really cheap money. And yeah, I think people should know more about budget audio, because most of those people were hardcore audiophiles. And even if I would have told him it doesn't sound good because it pushes mids too much back, measured bad. People don't want to hear about measurements. They don't want to hear about the, like, what you would objectively, from our current scientific standpoint, need to achieve in order to get good sound. They didn't want to hear it. And I think just going to cheap, good tuned IEMs would open their eyes and seeing what this is in market that is pretty much overseen by most of them. And yeah, last comment of this video is already plenty long. Maybe I cut it in 2 parts. I don't know. Yeah, London itself, kind of alright city. Like, for a major city, it wasn't that great. Like, Copenhagen, much nicer, much nicer. Stockholm also liked much more. And so wasn't that great. But the Holland Park people, Holland Park is really good. Like, it is a bit not like main city thing, like still behind Hyde Park, but really Holland Park is really nice, and I can absolutely recommend. It's a gorgeous park there, absolutely nice. And yeah, Subway, worst thing that I've experienced in London, it's so loud. Like, oh my god, I wish I had ear protection. Like, it's so goddamn loud. Like, it's the worst thing that I've experienced in any public transport. It's full, that's not the main problem, but it's so loud. Like, really, you need hearing protection in the subway of London. Like, really not nice. And yeah, that sums it my Can Jam visit. Hope you enjoyed it. I hope to see you also, guys, next year. If you have questions, if you have criticisms, if you have recommendations, please leave a comment. And with this, Donspektor out.